order to describe melody, we need to learn the basic terminology that is used for defining the elements of a melody. Pitch describes the highness or lowness of a sound. It can be described scientifically as frequency. In order to understand frequency, we first have to understand a little bit about sound waves. Sound, in general, is the sensation perceived by the organs of hearing when sound waves reach the ear. These sound waves are generated by vibrations. Vibration is the periodic motion of a substance. When you play an instrument, parts of the instrument, like the strings or the sounding board, and the air inside and around the instrument vibrate. The vibration causes a cycle of increased and decreased pressure in the air. Each cycle of increased or decreased pressure is equal to one sound wave. These changes in air pressure reach the ear and cause the eardrum to vibrate, which in turn causes small bones on the other side of the eardrum to move back and forth. This motion is eventually picked up by the nerve endings and is sent to the brain, where it is interpreted as sound. Frequency is the number of cycles that occur every second. When sounds have a high number of cycles per second, the pitch of a sound will be high. When they have a low number of cycles per second, the pitch will be low. Frequency is measured in Hertz, which is the standard unit of measurement for 1 cycle per second. The audible sounds for the human ear range from 20 to around 20,000 cycles per second, or 20 to 20,000 Hertz. In music notation, pitch is represented by symbols called noteheads that are positioned on a staff. A staff is a set of 5 equidistant horizontal lines joined together by a vertical line. The lower a notehead is positioned on the staff, the lower the pitch or the frequency of the pitch. The higher a notehead is positioned on the staff, the higher the pitch or the frequency of that pitch. In music, there are 7 basic pitches. These 7 pitches make up the musical alphabet. This alphabet is A, B, C, D, E, F, and G. These 7 letters repeat over and over. Each of these pitches corresponds to a white note on the piano. A is always located in between the second and third black notes in any group of 3 black notes. From there, you can determine the letter name of any other pitch on the piano. In order to indicate further exactly what pitch should be performed, we use symbols called clefs. Clefs indicate if pitches being performed will be high, low, or somewhere in between. The pitch range of an instrument will determine what clef it reads from. Instruments of a higher pitch range use the treble clef. It is also called the G clef because the swirl of the clef encircles the line that represents the musical alphabet member G. From here, you can determine the location on the staff of any other pitch in the musical alphabet by counting forwards or backwards in the alphabet. Each line and space represents a new note name. Musicians have determined mnemonic devices to help memorize note names that the lines and spaces of the treble clef represent. For the spaces, from low to high, you can just think of spelling the word face, or you can tell yourself spaces spell face. For the lines, from low to high, you can use the phrase elephants go bouncing down the freeway. Common instruments that read music that uses the treble clef are flute, oboe, clarinet, alto saxophone, trumpet, and violin. Instruments of a lower pitch range use the bass clef. It is also called the F clef because the 2 dots of the clef surround the line that represents the musical alphabet member F. From here, you can determine the location on the staff of any other pitch in the musical alphabet by counting forwards or backwards in the alphabet. For the spaces, from low to high, you can use the phrase, all cows eat grass. For the lines from low to high, you can use the phrase, good boys deserve fudge always. Common instruments that read music that use the bass clef are trombone, bassoon, euphonium and tuba, and string bass. Many keyboard instruments, like the piano or organ, have a much wider range of pitches. In this case, we use both the treble and bass clefs together and join them with a vertical line and a brace. This creates something called a great staff or grand staff. In general, the left hand will play pitches notated in the bass clef, and the right hand will play pitches notated in the treble clef. Very often, pitches will need to be notated above or below the staff. Ledger lines are used for this purpose. Ledger lines are short, horizontal lines added to the top or bottom of a staff for the indication of notes too high or too low to be represented on the staff itself. See this note here? It has one ledger line and appears below the treble clef. This note is important when playing piano or when thinking about other instrument ranges. It's known as middle C because it is in the very middle of the piano keyboard. On the bass clef, it's notated as one ledger line above the staff. Writing occasional notes using ledger lines is customary, but some instruments have ranges that would require the use of many ledger lines all of the time in certain ranges, like the viola and sometimes the trombone, bassoon, or cello. In these cases, we use a movable clef, also known as a C clef. The C clef has a curly arrow in the middle. Whatever line this arrow points to is middle C. The most common C clefs are the alto clef, which indicates the middle line as being middle C, and the tenor clef, which indicates the fourth line as being middle C. These fundamental concepts of understanding and notating musical pitch form the foundation of all musical study. Become familiar with all three types of clef: treble clef, bass clef, and C clef. Memorize the lines and spaces for both the treble clef and bass clef. You must be able to recall this information immediately. As you will quickly find out, each new concept in music theory assumes a mastery of previous concepts, so take time to diligently study, memorize, and effectively use each new concept.